Hey everyone, and welcome back to Senior Care Insights. I'm so glad you're tuning in with us today for another deep dive.
It's great to be here.
Today we're going to be talking about women and aging. And more specifically, what are some of the things that allow some women to live such long and healthy lives?
Yeah.
We hear so much about longevity these days, but what really makes a difference? And how can women not just live longer, but really thrive in those later years, maybe even reach that century mark?
Yeah, that's a fascinating topic. And, it's something we see so much variation in.
Right.
Some women seem to just radiate vitality well into their 80s, 90s, even beyond. And then others really struggle with health challenges much earlier. So, what are those factors that really contribute to not just a long life, but a good life, a life that's rich and fulfilling and meaningful?
Absolutely. And I think one thing that's become really clear, at least from what we've been looking into, is that for a lot of women, especially those who've spent years caregiving for others, their own health and well-being kind of gets put on the back burner.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's understandable in a way, right? You're so focused on taking care of everyone else that you kind of forget about yourself. But then what happens is years go by and suddenly you're dealing with the consequences of that neglect.
Exactly. So we really want to look at, why that happens. And more importantly, how can we help women reprioritize their own health as they age? What can we do to shift that focus back to ourselves?
I think that's a crucial part of this whole conversation because it's not just about adding years to your life, it's about adding life to those years. And that means taking care of yourself both physically and mentally.
Yeah, for sure. And, along those lines, we're also going to be talking about the importance of having a purpose, keeping your mind sharp and engaged, and nurturing those really important social connections. They seem to play a big role in not just longevity, but also in how much you enjoy those years.
Couldn't agree more. I think we often underestimate just how powerful those things are. Having a reason to get up in the morning, staying connected with people you love, keeping your brain active, those things can truly make a world of difference.
Totally. And for anyone listening who might be thinking, well, I'm not a marathon runner or I don't have time for elaborate workouts, we'll be exploring some really simple, enjoyable ways to stay active. It doesn't have to be this big, overwhelming thing.
Right. It's about finding what works for you and what you actually enjoy doing.
Exactly. Okay, so let's dive in. Let's start with movement. What have you found about how women who live to be 100 and beyond, how do they approach physical activity? What's their secret?
Well, it's interesting because it's not so much about structured exercise for these women. It's more about just moving their bodies naturally throughout the day.
So it's not like they're hitting the gym for hours every day.
No, not at all. They're gardening, they're taking walks, they're dancing around their homes, they're doing yoga. They're finding ways to incorporate movement into their everyday routines.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like it's not this separate chore. It's just part of their lifestyle.
Exactly. And if you look at those blue zones, those areas around the world where people are known for their longevity, one of the common threads is that they're all very active communities. People are walking everywhere, they're working in their gardens, they're doing physical labor. It's just a natural part of their lives.
It's so different from how so many of us live today. We're sitting at desks all day. We're driving everywhere. We have all these conveniences that are supposed to make life easier, but they're actually making us less active.
Yeah, it's a bit of a double-edged sword.
And the research really backs that up, doesn't it? Inactivity can lead to all sorts of problems as we age,
Mm.
from weaker muscles and bones to poor circulation and a higher risk of chronic diseases.
Absolutely. But the good news is that even small amounts of movement can make a big difference. It's about consistency rather than intensity.
So instead of trying to cram in a high-intensity workout once a week, it's better to just find little ways to move every single day.
Exactly. Take the stairs instead of the elevator, park further away from the store, walk around while you're on the phone. All those little things add up.
Okay, so we've got to keep moving.
Yep.
Got it. Now let's talk about food. What do these centenarian women eat? Is there some kind of magic diet?
Well, I wouldn't say magic, but there are definitely some common themes in their diets. And it's not really a diet in the traditional sense. It's more of a way of life, a way of eating.
So what are they eating? What are we talking about here?
They're focusing on whole, unprocessed foods. Lots of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean protein, healthy fats, the good stuff.
Okay, so pretty much what we hear about all the time. Eat your fruits and veggies, that kind of thing.
Exactly. But the difference is that they're really committed to it. It's not just something they do occasionally. It's a fundamental part of their lifestyle.
And what about the things they avoid? What are they not eating?
They tend to stay away from processed foods, sugary drinks, and excessive amounts of sugar in general. All those things that we know can contribute to inflammation and chronic diseases.
Yeah, it's tough because those things are everywhere. It takes a lot of conscious effort to avoid them.
It does. But it's worth it because these women, they really see food as medicine. They understand that what they eat has a direct impact on their health and longevity.
It's like they're fueling their bodies for the long haul.
Exactly. And that's a really powerful mindset to have.
All right. So we've got to move our bodies and eat well. What about the mind? What are these long-living women doing to keep their minds sharp and engaged?
Well, they're lifelong learners. They're constantly challenging their brains, whether it's through reading, writing, doing puzzles, learning new languages, taking classes, or just engaging in stimulating conversations.
So it's like they're always keeping their minds active and working.
Exactly. They understand that the brain is like a muscle. If you don't use it, you lose it. And they're not afraid to try new things. They're curious about the world, and they're always looking for ways to expand their knowledge and their horizons.
That's so inspiring. And it's not just about preventing cognitive decline, is it? It's about enriching your life, about staying curious and engaged with the world.
Absolutely. It's about finding joy in learning and growing, no matter your age.
And social connections, those are important too, right?
Absolutely. Humans are social creatures. We need connection. We need to feel loved and supported. And the women who live to be 100 and beyond, they tend to have very strong social networks. They have close relationships with their families and friends. They're active in their communities. They volunteer their time. They're constantly interacting with others in meaningful ways.
It makes sense. Isolation and loneliness, those can take a real toll on our health, both mental and physical.
For sure. And, social interaction, it keeps us engaged with the world. It keeps us learning and growing. It gives us a sense of purpose and belonging.
It's like a vital nutrient for the soul.
I like that. A nutrient for the soul.
Okay, so we've got movement, nutrition, mental stimulation, and social connection. And there's one more thing we wanted to talk about, and this one might be the most important of all. It's the idea of refusing to accept decline as inevitable. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, this is a big one. Because, we live in a society that often sends the message that aging is all about decline. You get older, you get weaker, you get sicker, you get less capable. And that message can really seep into our subconscious and affect how we view ourselves and how we approach aging.
It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
If you believe you're going to decline, then you're more likely to.
Exactly. But the women who live to be 100, they don't buy into that message. They see aging as a process of adaptation and growth. They don't deny that their bodies are changing, but they focus on what they can still do, and they find ways to adapt to those changes.
So it's about having a positive attitude, about
Yeah.
seeing the possibilities instead of the limitations.
Right. And it's about taking care of yourself, about making healthy choices, and about staying active and engaged with life.
Because it's not about denying the reality of aging. It's about challenging those negative stereotypes and expectations.
Exactly. It's about rewriting the narrative of what it means to grow old.
I love that. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about the importance of movement, nutrition, mental stimulation, social connection, and having a positive attitude about aging. But there's one more piece of the puzzle that we haven't touched on yet, and that's purpose.
Ah, yes. Purpose. It's that feeling of having a reason to get out of bed in the morning, something that gives your life meaning and direction.
And it's not necessarily about having some grand mission or changing the world, right? It
Yeah.
could be something much simpler than that.
Exactly. It could be about nurturing your relationships with loved ones, pursuing a hobby you're passionate about, volunteering your time in your community, or simply taking care of yourself in your home.
It's about finding something that brings you joy and fulfillment, something that makes you feel alive.
Exactly. And the research is pretty clear on this. Having a sense of purpose is linked to all sorts of positive outcomes, from better physical and mental health to increased longevity.
It's like having a reason to keep going, a reason to keep growing and learning and contributing.
Absolutely. And, I think that's really what it's all about. It's about living a life that's full of meaning and purpose, no matter your age.
Well said. So to wrap things up, we've explored 5 key areas that seem to play a big role in helping women live long and healthy lives: movement, nutrition, mental stimulation, social connection, and purpose. It's a holistic approach, isn't it? It's about taking care of yourself on all levels, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually.
Couldn't have put it better myself. It's about embracing all aspects of who you are and creating a life that supports your well-being in every way.
That's a beautiful way to put it. So for everyone listening today, what resonated most with you? What's one small step you can take today to start incorporating some of these principles into your own life? Maybe it's taking a walk, calling a friend, or trying a new recipe. Whatever it is, just start small and be consistent. And remember, it's never too late to start making positive changes.
That's so true. Even small steps can make a big difference over time.
If you found this deep dive helpful, we'd love for you to give it a thumbs up and share it with anyone else who might benefit from it. And be sure to leave a comment below letting us know your thoughts and any questions you might have.
And of course, don't forget to subscribe to Senior Care Insights for more conversations about aging well and living your best life.
Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next time for another deep dive.